everyone, it's Crystal here, and today I am doing my amazing review of Super Mario Odyssey, which is an amazing, awesome game that comes in this awesome crafted case. I love the art for Super Mario Odyssey. It looks so cool. I'm trying to get Goldilocks to try and get me a Super Mario Odyssey poster from the marketing and EB Games so I can hang it up somewhere because I just love the art so much. So, on Friday, on the 27th of October, I bought Super Mario Odyssey. And I actually pre-ordered Super Mario Odyssey back when I pre-ordered Splatoon 2. So it was like months ago. Ages and ages and ages ago that I pre-ordered this game. Because I knew that I would love to play this game. So, since I pre-ordered the game, I got the game as well as Cappy, which is why I'm wearing it today. It is extremely adorable. It pretty much just fits my head. So if you have a really, really big head, this hat may not fit you because there's not really much stretch at the back. So let me take this off. So it's got some elastic at the back, but as you can see, it does not stretch very much. So if you have a big head, you may not fit this hat. Luckily for me, it fits just on my adult sized head. So yeah, something to think about if you pre-order it. Yeah, there's another Cappy hat that you can buy at EB Games that you can add on to your cost of Super Mario Odyssey if you're buying it later once the game is out. But since I pre-ordered it, I got this one for free. So yay for free stuff! So, I would like to talk about everything in this game. Now, I have played this game for, I don't even know how long now, but it's over 9 hours that I've played this game for over the course of 2 days. Like, I'm pretty close to finishing the entire storyline of the game, but I still have a lot of the other stuff that I have to finish in the game, like finding all the moons and things like that. So yeah, Super Mario Odyssey, was it everything that I wished for and more? Well, I can tell you honestly that this game honestly did surprise me in all the best ways possible. Now, there's a lot to talk about in this game, and this is one of my first reviews of a game, so I'm kind of going to be jumping around a little bit to talk about the different things I want to talk about. But yeah, I have read reviews of other people who have already done game reviews of Super Mario Odyssey, and everyone is giving it like 10 out of 10, and I can't disagree with them. It is a really, really good Mario game. And this is coming from someone who really enjoyed playing Super Mario Sunshine on the GameCube, and I still go back to the game and play lots of hours on it now. So for me, hearing about an open world sandbox game for the Switch, it was a great feeling. And finally, it's a lot less linear. I can pick where I would want to go, what things I want to do, where do I want to explore. So Super Mario Odyssey has opened that door back up again since the day of the GameCube and Sunshine was made. So I was really excited about that because we haven't had one in so long. And we finally get one, and it's amazing what they have done with this game. As some of you might know, there is a new mechanic in Super Mario Odyssey, which is Cappy, which is pretty much Mario's hat that now has a living soul in it. And they go on an adventure together. Mario's there to try and save Princess Peach from getting married to Bowser. And Cappy is trying to save his sister, which is Princess Tiara, which is on Princess Peach's head. And so these two decide to join up and join forces and try and save the people that they care about. So that's the main story of the game, really. And I mean, Mario games have never really been that strong for their story elements, but I think it was a nice story. It wasn't anything complicated or over the top. You know, they just needed a reason for why Cappy would join up with Mario, and it works. Cappy wants to save his little sister. Mario wants to save Princess Peach from Bowser. We're going to team up and work together to get them both back. And I'm like, yeah, okay, that's fine. I'm okay with that. In terms of the worlds that you can explore, I was kind of scared a bit watching trailers and gameplay footage from other YouTube sites from Nintendo and things like that about the different worlds in this game. And I was like to myself thinking, how many worlds could they possibly make? They've showed us so many worlds already. You know, what if there's only like 1 or 2 worlds we haven't seen yet? That'd be pretty disappointing. But luckily it didn't turn out that way. There is actually quite a few worlds that they haven't showed off at all. Yeah, so it was great to see all those different worlds that they haven't actually shown off yet in gameplay footage, because I think a lot of people were worried about that they've showed so much of the content out there before the game was coming out that when we finally get the game that there wouldn't be too much more to it. And luckily that was not the case. So thank you for doing that, Nintendo, for leaving us with so much that we can explore and do on our own, and that you weren't giving away all of your secrets. Mario travels in his ship now, which is called the Odyssey, which is pretty much shaped like a giant top hat. And this is how you travel to all the different places, but to travel to all the different places, you have to collect enough moons. So in Super Mario Sunshine, you used to collect power stars. Now you collect power moons, and these power moons are what are going to charge up your Odyssey so that you can go to all these different places that are further away. And depending on which place you go to, there is a different requirement of how many moons you need to get. There's a lot more power moons in the world than just the ones that you require to get to another place. So you can kind of choose and pick which moons you want to get first. So you might decide you want to do this mission first because it's easier than doing one of the other missions. So you kind of pick and choose which ones you want to complete first, and then later on in the game you can go back and complete the other ones. So I like having that option that there isn't just a set amount of stars like there was in Sunshine. There is now, you know, there's more moons than what is required to get to place and to unlock new things. So I'm glad they made that change. I think that is a really good change. Talking about power moons though, power moons are, well, okay, they're plentiful. Let me put it this way, power moons are pretty plentiful in the game. And if I had to compare Super Mario Sunshine to Mario Odyssey, I would definitely say that Super Mario Sunshine was more difficult than Super Mario Odyssey is. In terms of collecting, well, stars for Super Mario Sunshine and power moons for Odyssey. And the reason I say that is because some of the missions that they send you on are really, I guess, basic missions. I don't really see them as like full quest. So they have like full quest missions where you have to complete a certain objective in the game to be able to get that power moon. And then other ones are just more so exploration type moons. So you just explore the map and you might randomly come across a power moon and you'll be like, oh, there's a power moon at the top of that tower. Huh, okay. And then all you have to do is climb to the top of the tower and you've got yourself a power moon. And I was like, okay, that was easy. So they have moons that are kind of like that, that are just, I think, a little too easy to get. And they're kind of like little side mission things, but like really climbing a tower wouldn't really count as a mission. It's more of just something that you would do when you were exploring the worlds. And so that's their way, I guess, of encouraging you to explore the world, because you get more power moons by doing that sort of stuff. And so I get that. But the main quests for the game, the main storyline quests for the game, they're reasonably difficult, and I have died on a lot of them in some occasions. They also have small side quest ones where I actually complete levels. So I think there was one in the Luncheon Kingdom where they have rotating kebab things with like lollies and stuff on them, and you have to jump to each of the platforms while they're rotating over, like they flip. So you have to be really careful where you position Mario to be able to get across all the platforms. So, I mean, there's things like that. I do enjoy the small quests, and I also enjoy the main storyline quests, but I think some of the exploration moons were a bit too easy to get and didn't really feel, for me anyway, that I actually achieved something. It's more kind of like, I don't know, I kind of felt like they felt sorry for me, so they're giving me a power moon. Like, I don't know, like some of them are really hard to find places, and I'm like, good, that's really good. There was one in New York City where there's this little entrance thing into a building that takes you to this other place, and you have to ride a motorcycle while having a T-Rex chase you, and you have to get a power moon, and there's 2 power moons. So there's one where in the middle of the race on top of boxes, and then there's another one right at the end of the race. So if you get through the entire race without getting killed, you get a power moon. Awesome. But the hardest one to get in that one is that middle moon. That one is super hard to get. So things like that are really good, and I like the challenge in them. And yeah, so power moons in general, I'd say a majority of them are really easy to get, but there are some challenging. There are also some quests in there that make getting power moons even harder to get than normal, and I like that. So there's kind of a range of difficulty, which some people will say is a plus, some people might say it's a negative. For someone like me who's a veteran to playing Mario games, I would say it's more a negative on my side, because some of them I just found way too easy and I didn't get any real satisfaction out of collecting them. It was just like, oh, there's a power moon up on that ledge. Okay, get to the ledge. Oh, got a power moon. Oh, that was easy. So, what's next? Like, there was really no satisfaction for me long term. It was just like a real quick short term thing, like, oh, I need a power moon to get to this next place, so I'm just gonna go climb that ledge, get that power moon, and I can go. And I was like, okay. And some of them are in the most random places. I'm just like, okay, alrighty, whatever. So that's my little debate about the power moons. I mean, for people who aren't veterans of playing Mario games, or kids who pick up this game, I think having those sort of like exploration moons are a real good benefit, and will help them progress in the game a lot quicker than if they were just made to follow Sunshine's pattern of you have to complete each star in this set order. So yeah, so I like that they have changed that. There's a really good change. Alright, moving on from getting power moons. Enemies. So one of Cappy's new abilities is to be able to possess an enemy, and you get all those enemies' powers pretty much. And I absolutely loved using this mechanic. It is so much fun. Especially with some of the things you can possess are just hilarious to watch. So a lot of people would have seen some of these already. So like the T-Rex, being able to possess the T-Rex gives you extra strength, and it is just so much fun to be like, go around as this T-Rex, stomping on everything, crashing into boxes to get coins, ramming down a whole lot of enemies. It's great fun. Yeah, and even just Mario's moveset in general is expanded on just because of Cappy. You can throw Cappy to hit different things, to break items. You can use Cappy to jump on him. There's a whole lot of ways you can use Mario's moveset now that makes it so much more diverse than what it used to be. And I think that's great. And the possession element of Cappy is super fun to muck around with. Pretty much anything that I thought I could take over, I did, and it was so much fun mucking around with the system. I would just play as so many different things. I think one of the ones I discovered that was really random, I became this large boulder rock, and I actually shuffled the rock back and it revealed a secret passageway, and I'm just like, whoa, okay. I became a rock, and then there's a passageway full of coins. Awesome. And so I thought that was really cool, and you can do lots of different cool things with different enemies. I like how it lays out the controls for each enemy down the bottom when you have got them possessed, so that you can actually see what the controls do and what that enemy's strengths and weaknesses are. Some enemies that you become, if you run into that same enemy, it doesn't actually hurt you. It just kind of throws you out of the whatever creature you're possessing at the time, and that's it. Some of them that you hit, like Goombas for example, I found out the hard way that if you run into one of them while you're also being a Goomba yourself, that you still lose health because of that. You lose life because of that. So yeah, you kind of just find this out as you go along in the game. They don't really tell you too much in terms of that sort of stuff, but it's really fun. So explore the world as much as you can, throw Cappy everywhere to see what things you can do, because some of the things you can take over you wouldn't even imagine you could, and when you do, it's just like, whoa, I just became this, and I can do all these new different things. And now I can get to this area that has a power moon in it that I couldn't get to before. And things like that are just super exciting. And it was really fun for me to get a hold of that mechanic and be able to use it in so many different ways. And for so many different situations. So I really, really love that. Nintendo did a great job with that. Some of the enemies I found out that you can't actually possess with Cappy. Pretty much they're just there as normal enemies, and it's generally the smaller type enemies that you don't really think too much of. But I thought that was surprising that not all enemies you could actually take over. It's only specific enemies that you can actually do things with. So I thought that was really cool. And also, talking on enemies too, they have introduced a lot of new enemies into this game that weren't in the original Mario games or any other Mario games. Some of them were kind of similar to enemies in past Mario games, but they've revamped them and they've changed them to make them more interesting and more challenging. So I really like that aspect. Yeah, so while we're talking about enemies and bad guys, I would like to talk about the boss enemies in this game. Alright, so there are 4 sub-bosses on this flagship, and they're called the Brodals, and pretty much these are kind of like wedding planners in the game, in the storyline of the game, and they're pretty much always trying to stop you from getting to Bowser and Peach. And they're kind of hired as like Bowser's henchmen sort of thing to keep you off his back so that they can get married in peace, and you're that annoying person who keeps on breaking into their wedding plans and stopping them. So the members for this are called Topper, Harriet, Rango, I think it's Spewart, I don't know, he has a really weird name, Spewart, and Madam Brody is the other one. And so pretty much these 4 sub-characters try and stop you pretty much every time to getting to Bowser and Peach. Yeah, so I can't really say too much about them. I have filmed a boss battle, so I'll probably see if I can put it on my Facebook page with the Switch shared now that they have, so that you can have a look at some of the boss fights that I've been in. But generally overall, I found most of the boss fights to be fairly challenging. Not challenging to the point where it was really annoying, I have to redo it hundreds and hundreds of times, but challenging enough that it wasn't just a first win succeed sort of thing. Generally, for most of them, I had to at least attempt it twice before I understood what I had to do and what enemy patterns they were doing and what things I had to avoid. So yeah, so I think the bosses overall, those 4 bosses anyway, were pretty good bosses. I enjoyed the fights with them, and each one had a different mechanic going for them, and yeah, it was really fun. For Madame Brody, I actually had some trouble with understanding what I had to do at first. Pretty much she had like a chain chomp with her, a gold chain chomp, and you actually have to use the new possession mechanic to be able to defeat her. But you have to take off all the hats off the characters first. So if an enemy is wearing a hat, you actually have to knock off the hat they're wearing first before you can use your cappy to take possession of that character. And so this is what the main boss fight of this woman was, and I didn't realize that until a little bit afterwards of what I was meant to do with it. So there was a few where I was a little bit clueless on what to do until I did some trial and error and worked it out. Yeah, I don't remember which of the Brodels it was, but it was the one bunny that was in the blue suit, and he would spray like this poison goop everywhere. And I thought the first time I met with this boss was actually harder defeating him that time than it was the second time around. And it wasn't just because I knew how to defeat him now and stuff like that, but the battlefield for the second time you actually defeat him is in a rectangular shape battlefield, and so you actually have a lot more room to move around to be able to avoid the goop that he's spraying everywhere. Whereas in the first boss battle that I had with him, you were in a lot more enclosed space. Like for that last round when you're just about to defeat him and you need to hit him one more time, you're literally like against like this invisible border, and if you got any closer to him he would have sprayed goop on you and you would have lost a life. So it's just like, wow, the second time I had to defeat him was easy. So there's some things like that I'm just like, okay, I don't understand why the second time with him is easier. It should be harder. But for all the other Brodels, it was harder than the first time I had to defeat him. But that was the one random one that I'm just kind of like, why have you given me more room to move around in? This is making it easier than it was the first one. I think what they should have done is swapped those 2 battles around, and then it would have been fine. Because I found the second one way easier. Yeah, and Bowser's battles, I've only had to defeat Bowser once so far in this game, and yeah, I mean, it was fine. Once again, it took me a little while to understand the enemy's patterns and how I can actually go about defeating it. Bowser was another one of those enemies that I was kind of like, not really too sure on what I'm meant to be doing. I guess I'll try this and see if that works. I did eventually work it out though, and it was fun. I thought the battle with Bowser was really fun, and I really enjoyed it. And yeah, hats are a big thing in this game. Pretty much every enemy and every boss has a hat of some sort that gives them an ability of some sort. So I liked how they were just going full on with the special hat theme thing. I thought that was really cool. So overall, the bosses in this game were really good, except for that one random exception of one of the Brodels that I had to face, where I think the levels should have been swapped, because one had way more moving room than the other one did, and that just makes it way easier. Now, how I was playing this game, that kind of stopped me from using all of Mario's moves, is that I was playing in handheld mode, which a lot of people have already discussed is probably the worst way to play Super Mario Odyssey. And the reason for that is because you cannot use the motion controls to, you can use the motion controls for the handheld device, but it is a lot more awkward to use them than, say, using the 2 Joy-Cons on their own and doing the motion controls. So I had that problem. So a lot of the time, there's one move with Mario's hat where you can spin it in a circle, and or hit any enemies around it. And for the entire game, like through nearly the whole main storyline, I have not used that move, not once. And it's not because it's not a great move, because I definitely think it would have been a really handy move to have, but because I was playing on handheld mode, I couldn't do it. There's no really actual way you can do that move. I watched one video on one person explaining how you can do it, that you spin in a circle with the analog stick and then you throw a cappy and it does the circle thing, but it just makes it a whole lot more awkward and more time consuming. And by the time you actually start doing that move, an enemy can be right on you and then you'll lose a life, and it's just not worth it. You know, you just kind of work a way around it, but it kind of sucks that you're limited for Mario's controls if you're using handheld mode, or if you're using a pro controller or anything like that, really. Like a grip for the Joy-Cons, any sort of grip for the Joy-Cons, or a pro controller, you're really limited to what sort of Mario's moves you can use, and so you can't use all this wide Mario variety set of moves that are there because you can't use motion controls for it, or it's just awkward to use the motion controls for it, so you kind of just avoid using those certain moves. So that's kind of disappointing that not all the moves are built into buttons that you can use. So it's kind of forcing people in a way to use motion controls if you want the full experience of, you know, playing the game using all the variety of moves that Mario has to offer. So yeah, I think that was a really sucky thing to find out about. But it's a small thing in a really great game. Alright, the other thing I wanted to talk about in this game are the graphics and how it looks. This Mario game looks amazing. The attention to detail they have put into some of the most basic things blow my mind. I mean, they have petals that float across the water. They have water reflection that is like rainbow colored, as if the sun was actually shining on it, and you get that nice rainbow sparkly effect on the water. And I don't know, just water in this game looks amazing. The grass texture, when you're running across the grass, you have grass picking up behind you and going everywhere, and I think that's really cool. There's also things like there was a waterfall in one of the worlds, and when you're crossing this tree bridge across from the waterfall, or if it's raining in the world, you get those water droplets going in front of your screen, and it just really adds to the environment and really like bringing you to that whole Mario open world experience. It's just lovely. Yeah, I really can't say anything. The worlds are very diverse. There's lots of diverse creatures to interact with. Overall, I would just say that this game is an amazing game, especially for the price of it. In Australia, this game costs $80, and that's $10 less than Zelda Breath of the Wild, and it is an amazing game, and there's like a ton of gameplay value for this game. So you got the main story, you got small side story quests that you can do. You also have exploration and finding all the moons, all the power moons. So you have to explore all the worlds, look in every nook and cranny, because you don't want to miss out on collecting them all. And yeah, it's, I really can't say too much more about this, without spoiling it all. But Super Mario Odyssey is an amazing game, and I definitely recommend that you get it. If I was to give this game a rating, I'd probably give it near a 10 out of 10. For me, I think some of the power moons were a little bit too easy to get, a little bit too obtainable. But overall, I think this is an amazing game, so I'd probably give it a 9 out of 10 or a 9.5 out of 10. It is very close to perfection for me, but there are some things in there that I would have liked some improvement on. For example, the motion controls being turned into buttons, so I can pick which way I want to play instead of having to use the motion controls to be able to use some of Mario's moveset, and also to have just more challenge with some of the power moons that are in the game. But overall, it's an amazing game, and I definitely recommend that you go and pick it up. That is my thoughts on Super Mario Odyssey. Please comment down below what you think of the game so far. What things have you really enjoyed? What things have you not enjoyed so much, or would you like improvements or changes to? Maybe even talk about some DLC that might come out for Super Mario Odyssey. I think it would be really cool if they did add some DLC to Super Mario Odyssey in the future. So yeah, share your thoughts with me in the comments below. And thank you for watching my video. Please subscribe and hit the bell icon. And I also have started up a Facebook page now, so if you would like to see some clips from Super Mario Odyssey or Splatoon 2 or Zelda Breath of the Wild, I'll be sharing some of my videos on my Facebook page here. So please look in the description below for all of those goodies. Please also check out my Girly Geeks channel with Goldilocks for the unboxing of the Switch, and also a review on 1-2 Switch. And I'll see you all soon. Bye now.